So whenever a client reaches out and wants us to help them buy land or a property, a number of things that we look out for, and I'm going to break them down into 7 steps. First, we need to understand the reason why the client is making the purchase. Now, some persons want to buy for short-term purpose, short-term investment, long-term investment. Others want to buy and build where they want to live in, right? So we need to understand all of that so that we don't give them what they do not want. Of course, you know that for a place like Abuja, there are lands that are mixed. For mixed use, there are some that are for commercial, then there are those that are for residential. You cannot mix them, and so we have to be very careful with that and be very clear on that. Secondly, after we have determined that, we now need to look out for products that fit their need. And when we get those products, before we engage investigation, we need to understand the context of that particular product, which of course now leads to the transaction. So basically, after we have found the product that suits the client's need and purpose, we can now initiate investigation or due diligence, because that particular product will determine the type of questions we are going to ask or the type of due diligence that will be carried out. We cannot be carrying out due diligence for a CFO land as against a right of occupancy land. Basically, differences in context, and we need to be able to determine the context of that particular transaction before we engage any type of investigation. Thirdly, we need to look at the security and the sustainability quotient of that particular property. And one of the key things that determines the security and sustainability of every real estate investment is the legality, the law. One thing I like to tell clients as a lawyer is the fact that law is somewhat the engine of every real estate transaction. You don't buy a cow just because of the body, right? You don't buy land as though you are buying an iPhone. So the legality of every real estate transaction is critical, and we also look at that very importantly. Fourthly, we look at the person who we are buying from. If it's a company, we look at corporate due diligence and all of that. If it's an individual, we also look at some other factors that some persons do not think it matters. Number 5, we negotiate for the best price for our client. Number 6, we make payments. So the 7th and the last step, which is for me very important, is transferring title. Now, after you have made payments and everything you have done, that is merely transactional. The law requires you to invoke the conveyancing law, which basically requires that a title document is prepared or whatever can serve the purpose of a title document and recognized by law. So until title, interest, and ownership is transferred to you, everything is merely transactional. Now, these are a summary of what we do when a client wants us to buy a land or property for them. The number of other things that we do in between this kind of thing, depending on the transaction that we are looking at. So if you're looking at we helping you buy a land or a property, the number has to reach out to us somewhere on your screen. So as a company, part of our goal is to ensure that your investments are safe, profitable, and sustainable. So if that sounds like what you are interested in, the numbers to reach out to are right on your screen.